our next speaker coming up is doing us a huge favor this evening. Mark Mattei from Star Distributors has agreed to fill in for Rob Mitchell, who unfortunately got stuck in a planning meeting back in New York City. Rob Mitchell, of course, is from Manhattan Beer Distributors.
Chris, how are you?
Yeah, so Matt's been gracious enough to come, or Mark, sorry.
Mark, yeah, no worries.
Has been gracious enough to sit on the hot seat here.
Is it hot?
Yeah.
Actually, it is hot, Brad.
Well, it's these lights.
More worried if I was going to look fat on TV.
Oh, thank you.
It's good.
So Mark is going to talk to us a little bit about what he's noticing here in Connecticut. I know, we talked to Brad a little bit about it, and also going to kind of share some insight into, what he's looking for when he's talking to prospective craft brands. So talk to me a little bit about just your business, how many craft brands you sell, how many brewers you're working with, how many SKUs you got, how many reps you got out in the market.
Yeah,
Tell us about Star.
Well, first of all, it's exciting. It's exciting for Connecticut because it's exciting time for consumers. They can get a lot of variety, a lot of choice, and Star's business has been great. We have 25 different craft brews that we currently represent, all growing great. But Two Roads has been really great for Connecticut because it's put sort of one guy to sort of lead the charge for Connecticut. So that's really helped to have a big anchor here in the southern part of Connecticut. And I know we have some guys in Hartford and then out on the shore as well. But it's been a great time for consumers and beer drinkers of Connecticut. I mean, you heard the story. I started 8 years ago at Star, and there was 5 or 6 guys, and now there's 26 guys. And if that doesn't have a testament to how exciting things are in Connecticut, I don't know what is. Look at this great crowd here. I mean, who would have thought Connecticut would have a brew bound right here? So it's good.
Well, who would have thought that we would have existed, before 4 years ago?
Right.
Clearly, the craft segment itself, on the whole, is growing. And in Connecticut, we've certainly noticed that there's a lot more new breweries starting up, but some of them are in attendance tonight.
Yep.
How many brands are you guys selling? Are you getting on board with these new brands that are cropping up? And when you're talking to them, what are the questions you're asking?
Right. Obviously, we love introducing new stuff to our consumers, but it's kind of a two-way street. When people come in to sort of vet Star, we're vetting them as well. Are they asking the right questions? Are we asking the right questions? We like to see, everything for us goes back to quality. We want to give quality products, and we want to make sure that brewers are authentic and doing the right thing for their brands, not cutting corners, investing where it makes sense, giving us support and people. We want brewers that are going to come in and also give us resources too. Hey, we're going to, you heard Brad talk about it. We don't want necessarily a brewer that's going to say, here's my brand, go sell it.
Right.
That's not going to work. We want people to work in partnership with Star to go out there and build their brand and give it to the consumers. And that's an important part. I mean, are they asking the right questions? How do you go to market? How many account call points does each of your sales rep have? Star just reorganized as our craft business continues to grow. It's up to 13% of our total business.
Wow.
We took our route sales guys, and they only call on less than 100 call points. The average for Connecticut was around 130, 140, because they need more time to sell. So we're investing, not besides the co-op investment, which you talked a little bit, Brad, about, we're investing in our people. Our entire sales force is Cicerone level 1 trained. So we're spending the extra money. They have a less account call point, so they can sell your brand.
Right.
Because obviously we're taking on a lot of brands, but we're also moving our sales force forward so they're able to spend the time to sell those brands.
How much of that change is being driven just by the increasing amount of breweries that are starting to crop up, and probably, I assume, the breweries that are entering Connecticut from out of state?
Well, I think it has less to do with breweries and more about distributors, because the distributors that want to do the right thing will spend the money and move. Because frankly, Chris, I could have stayed the same way and just tried to jam it in to the current way we work, but it wasn't working. So we needed to change and grow to be able to foster the growth of the craft business. And it's really working. It's working great. We're on 4 years of growth. Connecticut in a whole the total volume in Connecticut has been down 3 to 5% the last 4 or 5 years. So while all this exciting stuff is happening within craft, we're not growing volume. So it's the old story, people are drinking better, they're just drinking less.
Is that a problem for you?
It's not necessarily a problem because the dollars can work, but what really the problem is that that share of throat, we call it, is going somewhere else. And is it going to wine, and is it going to spirits? And that's what we want to prevent. We want people to stay in beer, because that's where we employ people, that's where Brad employs people, and that's where you guys employ people. We have 200 people that work for us. Brad, when he started, there was 3 of them. Now you got people running all over the place. So it's a good thing. So we're bringing jobs to Connecticut. So we added 5 people in our craft department alone. We have a chain department. So we're investing as well. We're adding jobs, which is a huge part of a great asset that craft is bringing to beer distributors. So we're adding drivers every day. So it's been really, really good. So.
What's this is always my favorite question. What's the worst thing that like a startup craft brewer can do when they walk into your office for the first time, and you're going through that vetting process?
Right. I think the worst thing they can do is they don't do their homework. Like we can tell when someone, and listen, everyone's trying to do the right thing, and you have a different model. Maybe there's a brewer that's a husband and wife, or someone just out of college. But if they don't come in and have the homework, knowing what they're getting into, understanding state laws, understanding the dollars, the revenue, because we want you guys to succeed when you come to us. I don't want you to come to us and then 6 months down the road, your economic model doesn't work.
Right.
So we want to make sure that you guys are set up for the long-term success as well. We're going to work with you, we'll invest where it makes sense, but you have to be successful as a craft brewer on your own merits. And some of the people don't do the homework, and you could tell pretty quickly in the conversation that they don't understand really what they're getting involved with. Because I like to think it's just about the liquid, but it's not just about the liquid. It's about, do you have enough people? Do you have enough capital? Do you have hop futures? We have it all the time where guys come in and they don't have enough hops down the road, or they didn't order enough cooperage is a huge problem. So, there's issues, and hopefully they're doing their research. Hopefully they're using the BA, and they're talking to guys like Charlie Papazian, and they're getting the right information so that you can succeed for the long term.
Yeah, and that's something that will probably no doubt contribute to your willingness to work with those types of folks.
Correct.
So how many craft brands are you selling now?
So we have about 25 craft distributors. Within that, we have 700 SKUs. So that would be, Road to Ruin 6-pack, Road to
Right.
Ruin keg, and it has added a lot of SKUs because everyone is trying to brew something new and different, and bring something different to the market.
And is that 700 figure up from something in the last couple of years? I mean, how is that doubled, or?
It's doubled many times over.
Wow.
It has become, I know that some people see the SKU Mageddon or whatever. It has become tricky for wholesalers. That's why forecasting, even Brad's point, forecasting has become much more important for us. We want to bring the right stuff. The worst thing any wholesaler, any brewer wants is some kind of either seasonal or limited release that doesn't get pulled through the entire market, because then you're dealing with product. What do you do with it? And, we don't want to get into a discounting phase either with past seasonals or exclusive items. So
is that something you guys are still figuring out, how to manage all those SKUs?
I think everybody's trying to figure that out.
So what's the solution? I mean, it doesn't seem like any of these brewers are going to stop with the seasonals and the one-offs and the specialties.
Right. Well, it helps if you have some expertise where you've had a similar item that you've already gone through. And really it becomes in a game about distribution and rate of sale. And if you can really just work it backwards and say, all right, I know I'm going to have 100 points of distribution. They're going to sell 4 cases a month. I need 400 cases. And if the wholesaler does his job and gets the distribution, you should not have issues. The tricky part is if you don't have people managing it, and we have 3 or 4 people in our order planning department working with the sales department. If one guy doesn't do the right thing, then you're messed up. So if I tell my order planner I'm going to get 100 points and the rate of sale is going to be 4, he's going to order 400. Now, if he orders 400 and I get 30 points of distribution, guess who's got a lot of product on hand? And then I got to answer to...
well, and that rate of sale number can fluctuate too by a lot of factors. I mean, if, I don't know, if UConn's in the Final Four, or
Right.
if Kenny Chesney comes to town, I mean,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, doesn't that get all thrown out of whack?
Big Kenny Chesney guy?
No, not really. That just popped in there. Yeah.
I was going to say something about the flannel shirt,
Yeah.
but I'll leave it alone. No.
Yeah. Now, she thinks my tractor's sexy. I don't know. Is that Kenny Chesney?
Well, you know a lot of lyrics already. Well, here's what it really comes down to: the flexibility of the supplier or the brewer. So if you have something that's hot and you make a lot, and you can either I mean, obviously there are certain things that take longer in the process. I'll give you an example. Rhodesmary's Baby, we forecast out from 2 roads. I don't know if you've had a chance to try it. It's a wonderful product, but it's kind of complex. It's in barrels. It's tough to kind of, so we ordered more than we did last year and we still ran out of it. So some hot items, and because it's a difficult item to make, we weren't able to get more.
Right.
So that creates sort of the great consumer demand. But if a wholesaler has a supplier that has multiple points of, maybe they can move product around to kind of address, ebb and flows of inventory. But inventory is a challenge no matter, what wholesaler or brewer that you talk to nowadays.
You brought up the volume issue, and I get around to a lot of conferences and kind of hear the same issues being brought up time and again. It's like, dollars are up, volumes are down, we're losing sales to wine and spirits, sort of the same thing. Have you guys had conversations with your craft suppliers about ways to increase the volumes? It seems like at some point, that's going to come to a head. Excuse the pun, but those 2 roads are going to, meet at some point, right?
Well, I think you asked Brad the question about session stuff, and I think alcohol content is an issue. I know that if the alcohol content comes down, sessionability comes up, and I love their A Little Bit of Heaven. It's like 4.8, got a lot of hop, good item, you can drink more than a few, and that helps. And to be quite frank with you, retailers are looking for that. Well, you've seen it in some of the rags that, retailers, guy would go in and drink 7 Coors Light, now only has, 2 roads, that the check actually goes down in that in some cases. So, we want people's economic models to stay healthy. So I think sessionable products are important. So you talked about what's the next hot IPA, session IPAs, but I think there's going to be session other stuff. And I don't know what they are yet, maybe some of the brewers in the room can, but can someone have, an imperial stout that's sessionable? Can someone have some? People got to start thinking
a
out of
sessionable imperial stout.
Well, I'm giving you that as an example, but that's where we need to
sign me up, dude.
We need to have some stuff that the consumers can drink more than just one.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, it's so in many ways, it's like craft brewers are at some point going to have to kind of start thinking like their larger brewing counterparts. And find ways to have, a sessionable item that they're driving volume with, which for many, many years has sort of been, the opposite way of thinking.
Well, I think if you look at sort of the fathers of craft beer, what they did is they focused on one style and grew a brand. So Boston Lager, that's what Sam pushes. Fat Tire, they push the one item, and that is their volume item. I think what brewers need to not lose focus on having a flagship lead style. While it's great to have all the one-offs, you need a one style that is your brand and that people look for, and hey, I know that, I'm drinking that, that's a quality item.
Something reliable.
Right, and that's where the volume will come, because then you can go to 12 packs and people will buy more variety, more larger sizes on it. And I think it's important for every brewer to have a flagship brand, because at the end of the day, it seems that's what's becoming. When somebody new comes into Connecticut from out of market, it seems like their lead style is their lead style. Yeah, the craft bars will dabble in a lot of the other stuff, but it's important to have a brand that you hang your hat on.
Yeah. What's it like when out-of-state brewers enter the marketplace? Does that make it, obviously you're getting some of those brands. Does it pose any challenges for the local guys? There's only, 4 million people in Connecticut, you said?
Yes, yeah,
so,
4 million. Small state, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the key thing is for Connecticut, and that's why I'm excited about Connecticut brewers with 26 of them, and 2 roads kind of leading the charge, is that retailers are starting to talk about the Connecticut beers. I need to have Connecticut beers on tap because they're local, they're fresh. And I think what is happening is retailers are putting 1 Connecticut or 2, and then they're rotating around. And unfortunately, the Connecticut brewers are actually competing solely with themselves, which isn't fair. I like to see more retailers embrace the local beer, sort of the farm-to-table concept a little bit more. And I think that's coming. I think it's definitely coming. What the beers from other markets are doing is getting people in general to try stuff, because when they walk into their retailer, there's a lot of new stuff. And there's still people out there today that haven't had an IPA. It's just I drink, Bud, and that's too esoteric for me. So as people finally learn to try some stuff, it'll bring more people and should be beneficial for everybody
So
in Connecticut.
what are you guys doing to push local then?
Well, we do a lot of special events. I mean, Brad has hosted a lot of wonderful events here, Connecticut only. There's a big event coming up the Webster Arena, BrewCon. So we're pushing the local events and beer tastings, and we're involved. We just had Connecticut Beer Week, which is the Connecticut Beer Wholesalers Association gets behind and helps do a lot of media and press on, and Connecticut Restaurant Week. So we're involved in all the local communities. Pretty much, there's not a beer festival that we're not involved with our portfolio. So I think people are coming around. I think it's an exciting time for Connecticut. Connecticut's one of those states where between New York and Boston, and we're 95 people drive through, but I think people in Connecticut are excited about beer. I'm excited about beer. All the people in this room obviously are here for a reason, and it's a good place to be right now in Connecticut.
What can not only Star, but all the distributors in Connecticut do to build the state up as a destination for craft beer? I mean, you mentioned that there's now 20 plus craft breweries here in the state, up from just 5 or 6 a couple years ago. So clearly there's growth, there's demand. Two Roads is growing like a weed. What do you guys need to do to keep that momentum going?
Well, the one of the things that's exciting, if you have an afternoon you want to drive around, Connecticut's got a wonderful beer trail. I mean, and 5 years ago that didn't exist. On a sunny Sunday, you can drive, an hour and hit, 4 or 5 breweries and have a great afternoon. So there's a tourism, economic piece. I know I've seen video of the guy on the bus taking people to all the different breweries, and people have a wonderful time. And the wholesalers have to foster that. And even though I don't sell every craft brand, I think we can do a nice job about promoting each other's brands. And I know that we've worked with other distributors and hosting and sharing all of these events. So we're pretty cooperative when it comes. We're competitors, but we're pretty cooperative. Because we know at the end of the day, if the whole category rises, we all win.
Any specific style trends that you're noticing here, or retail trends? I mean, are you seeing more of the larger chain accounts, the larger on-premise chains get involved with craft? And what are you doing to address those customers?
I think we're pretty much like everywhere else. It's kind of a mishmash right now on styles. IPA's obviously leading the charge, but as far as retailers, the bigger retailers are definitely getting on it, but they're sort of sticking to more national brands because the call points for a lot of those guys are far away. You know, like Buffalo Wild Wings could be in New York, or Walmart is in Arkansas. So they're not tiled into the local stuff. And to be quite frank, most guys don't have the economics to have chain people at a craft level. So it's kind of challenging to do that. So, but the local retailers are definitely on it. So.
Is there anything that you guys can do to address that, to get in and make that call, even if it is in New York, and say, look, you've got some accounts here in Connecticut that need a local beer?
First of all, Connecticut's not a great supermarket state. It's only about 10% of the business, but we have Stop and Shop being the lead dog. So we have great relationships with the buyers for the Stop and Shops in Connecticut. So what we do is, so Captain Lawrence wants to get in the shelf set, or Two Roads wants to get in the shelf set, or anybody. We'll help facilitate those meetings and get those brands in. So our relationship with our local chains is a really strong one, and that's a value that brewers can take advantage of.
At least on the on-premise side, still kind of up to the brewers to get the Buffalo Wild Wings or any of the other larger
that's
chains.
a trickier, because then there's franchises. I mean, it's probably a whole separate meeting on who owns how many locations. It definitely becomes tricky. So.
Yeah. All right, a couple hot potatoes here.
Okay.
You brought it up with Brad. Bob P's, kind of throwing distributors under the bus a bit, saying that there's onerous laws here, that it's not a distribution-friendly state. How does a distributor from Connecticut respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would disagree as well. I mean, I would look at around this room, look at all the brewers here, and look at the success Two Roads has had. I mean, that would say that it's not necessarily 100% true what Bob said. It's a great state to do business in. We're up to 26 brewers. There are brewers constantly coming in every day and being successful here. I think he just kind of looked at sort of the overriding bigger picture. And I don't think our laws are all that dissimilar to other states. But wholesalers here want to do the right thing, and we want to help brewers. And I think it's a great state to do business, and I would disagree with them.
Interesting. I think I made this sort of remark, after I watched the clip. I think it's easy for, anyone that isn't, waking up every day and selling beer to make these kinds of comments and say, oh, this is a bad state to do business in, or distributors are doing these things that we don't like. But at the end of the day, they don't have to wake up, go talk to the distributor, pick up the phone and do business with these guys. Does that make the relationship between your business partners, your craft brewery business partners, and yourself just a little bit unstable? I mean, does it change
No, I don't
anything
think
when
so.
they make these comments?
I think we're in this together with our guys. So if someone
Or
says
if Steve Hindy writes an op-ed, I mean,
Yeah.
that's always one that comes up.
If someone says, it's tough to do business in Connecticut or whatever, we're the people in Connecticut living and working with Brad and working with our other brewers, and we're in this together. So they're not just saying Connecticut from a wholesaler side. He's just saying Connecticut in general. And I would disagree with that by all the great brewers that are opening in Connecticut. 2 or 3 are opening every week, and we're flourishing, and we're in this together. So that's the big thing.
And you guys are, able to work through those things. You guys are able to pick up the phone, get things done, and despite what, media or anyone else might be saying, it's...
Yeah, I mean, listen, what we do is hard, everybody, from the brewers to the wholesalers. I mean, beer's not light. I don't know the last time you lifted a keg. It's not light. So there's a lot that goes into moving it around. We do it together with our brewers. We're proud of what we do. We employ a lot of people. We bring a lot of value to the consumers of Connecticut. And, we're going to keep doing what we do no matter what anybody says.
Sure. Final question then, since it's sort of relevant to this region, obviously where we're based in Boston, little, dust up on pay to play, some tweets that were sent out sort of caused a stir, and now the state is investigating, looking into some of the distributors and some of the brewers in sending subpoenas out.
Right.
Is there any insight that you can offer on those kinds of tactics, how it influences the marketplace? Does that happen in Connecticut? If so, how does it function?
French fries. Brad, where'd you go? No, listen. So I can't speak to Massachusetts, but Connecticut has good laws. The state regulates them quite well. The distributors play fairly with each other, and I think that's why it's a great craft market. It's very fair. It's a very level playing field. I can't speak to Massachusetts, but our laws work. We're all doing well here, and I think you see that with the amount of brewers that have come into Connecticut, and we're talking to brewers on a daily basis. So people want to come here. There's 4 million people here, and the legal ones are thirsty, and they want craft beer, and we want to get it to them. So, but we're going to do it fairly, and our competitors are going to do it fairly.
What do you think would be the best way to sort of, I don't know, I guess, remedy those issues? Because clearly they're creating some problems. I mean, are there ways that you sort of think about, going about business when people are playing that way?
I can't speak to that because that's in Massachusetts, not here.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough, man.
fair here.
All right, let's get some beers.
All right, thank you.
A big thank you to Two Roads for hosting us. Also, a couple quick notes before we go hang out and have a couple more beers. This event wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. There's too many to name off all at once. They're all posted on this sign right here. Thank you to those guys. They help, they help offset the travel. This is our 10th city that we visited this year, so these guys really help offset the travel to these places, hauling a bunch of gear around, getting 5 or 6 people from our staff around to actually put these events on. So It's not an easy task. And a big thank you to all of my colleagues who, for the past year, have been running around the country with me doing these things. Ashley, John McKenna, Josh Pratt, Matt Kennedy, Dave Eisenberg. Those guys are all here, so cheers. And thank you to Two Roads for hosting us. We're doing more of these next year, so hopefully we'll come back and we'll see you guys again. Cheers.